Excusing the pun, Alan Lunder is putting his heart and soul into his latest shoe company, Black Diamond Boots. But he probably doesn't have a choice. He's building a new business in the playing for keeps mentality of operating in mainland China. He knows the industry intimately from several associated family businesses. But even with this wealth of experience, almost every time I speak with him, he's either returning from a trip, planning the next one, or resolving a crisis. To most of us, late nights, thin margins, and governmental policy are intriguing stories on websites. You don't say. Or robust debates in a business school classroom. But for Alan, they're the cold shower reality of his daily grind. Alan, welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you.
So you need to make these trips for a number of different reasons, but air travel and hotel stays aren't cheap. Where do you draw the line between late night telephone calls versus in-person meetings?
We always believe in having personal relationships, and the best way to be able to communicate is face-to-face. That's the purpose, and that's the reason for going to Asia on a regular basis, to be able to maintain good relationships just as you would, locally. But with technology today, between text, email, Skype, Rebtel, all the other technologies, those keep us busy during the day, but nothing beats face-to-face communication and relationships, because our business is built on relationships.
So how many trips a year do you have to take in order to meet those face-to-face executives?
Between 8 to 10 trips to Asia a year.
Okay. How much of your time is spent on business development here in the United States versus quality control overseas in mainland China?
Well, the portion of our business in the U.S. is primarily focused on maintaining a business relationship with each of our customers. A lot of the times that we spend in the United States are on product development, going through merchandising assortments for our customers, working with them, understanding what their needs are, what their market needs are, what the positioning of competitors sets. But the majority of the business is spent in Asia, primarily working on actually executing the product.
If it's a new order on spec, or a completely brand new customer account, or an original stylistic development you'd hope to sell to your existing customers, do you have a set of benchmarks you use to evaluate whether it will be worth the effort, or whether your suppliers have met or exceeded the bar in terms of quality?
We organize a timeline, an initial timeline, by which that drives everything that we do, every decision that we make, every decision that our customer needs to make. We have a variety of different customers who meet a lot of different categories, industrial categories, whether it be golf, bowling, fishing, and they all have different timelines based on the seasonality of their market.
Okay, so for those customers, how do you gauge whether a premium pricing strategy with higher margins but less volume, or a lower priced mass market approach is going to be the best tack?
That's really driven by our customers and understanding what their product line is, where it fits in the marketplace, where their broader branded strategy is as a total company. And we try to align ourselves from a footwear standpoint into their broader branded strategy, and then based on that, really it's driven by what the market will bear. So if their market positioning is a certain price point, we need to work backwards from there, which also dictates which factory partner that we'll work with.
And what types of quality you're looking for, and
Correct.
What your production lead time will be, and the mass production you're going to order, etc.
Correct. But from a quality standpoint, we're relentless on quality. We don't differentiate a quality standard based on price. As far as we're concerned, our organization has to execute the product regardless of what the price point is.
What the price point is going to be,
Quality
either to your customers here or the end user who might be buying it, etc.
Correct.
You're watching The Language of Business. I'm Greg Stoller. We're talking about developing an international boot business with Alan Lunder of Black Diamond Boots. So much time is spent ensuring that products are thoughtfully manufactured, and of course, you want to protect the quality of the respective brands. At moderate price points, do you think the average U.S. consumer is able to discern or care about quality?
That's a good question, because at the end of the day, what I've learned is that the Americans vote with their wallet. And that's really what drives our business. So based on what's going on in American retail, that really drives what the requirements are on a manufacturing base. So it's not as simple as saying product is made cheaply in China or cheaper than it was made in other areas. The reality is that the consumer drives the business. And as we like to say, if dogs got to like the dog food. And if we're not making products, or our customers aren't making products that meet the demands of their customers, then we need to find an area to be able to do it. The stress today in the marketplace is that we've had, collectively as an American consumer, have had a good run for about 20 years with regard to lower wages and also the infrastructure being built in Asia to be able to support the American consumer.
Being based here like you, I try and keep tabs on what's happening in mainland China. I'm not able to travel over there as frequently as you are, but reading the Chinese press in Chinese, several years ago, there was a catchphrase that was 用世界工厂来形容中国，我觉得一点都不为过, which means that to say China is the world's factory is not at all an understatement. However, with Chinese wages increasing as much as they have in the past 5 years, and other countries quietly following suit, do you still believe Asia will continue as the world's manufacturing hub?
They will probably continue to be a majority percentage of the hub, purely by infrastructure. If you look at what China's done similar to the United States in terms of building an infrastructure to be able to support an economy such as that, other countries that we don't necessarily look at it as Asia versus the rest, we look at the whole world, and we try to figure out where's the appropriate place to manufacture and source the product from. But obviously China being a leader, especially in the footwear business, they have approximately 80% of footwear manufactured for the US market in China.
So what would it take for you to begin sourcing from the US or even NAFTA geographies, or do we still have a ways to go, at least in this country, in terms of narrowing the wage gap?
For the U.S. market, we used to be a domestic manufacturer, and I used to work in a business that was a domestic manufacturer. Part of the issue in the United States is that we've lost the infrastructure. So even if you would like to do certain products, it's not having the availability of an infrastructure, whether it's tanneries, whether it's sole manufacturers. So from our perspective, we don't necessarily look at it purely as U.S. versus China. We look at it as if we need product to be made at a certain price point for a certain customer, we try to find the best avenue for that. For the last 20 years, it's primarily been China as it's grown, but we've gone from Korea to Taiwan to China to Indonesia, and that's really where the infrastructure has gone. We'd love to be able to source product from North America. Primarily, it's got to be a good fit from a product standpoint, it's got to be a good fit from an infrastructure standpoint, and at the end of the day, it needs to be a good fit for what the end consumer is going to purchase.
Despite the success of the Dow and the NASDAQ, I still don't see too many companies able to, even modestly, raise their prices. If manufacturing costs are increasing but prices are staying the same, the middleman, unfortunately executives like you, have some difficult choices to make. How do you navigate through this morass?
The primary driver is the merchandising matrix at American retail. So as much as we would like to be able to establish pricing, that's really driven by the market. It's driven by the brands that we work with and ultimately from a retailer perspective. So we try to work within that matrix. That matrix is unyielding. It's ultimately driven by what the consumer is willing to pay, what the perception of the value that the American consumer is willing to pay for that. In the last 20 years, it's been a pretty good deal for the American consumer.
What do you think are the 3 key success factors of your business?
Personal relationships, and good communication. If you don't have the ability to be able to talk with people, to interact with people, to be able to motivate people, to be able to work in conjunction with them, it's impossible regardless of the technology. As I said before, we work on Skype, email, text. We have the greatest tools we have ever had in the history of business. But if you can't meet with people, you can't talk with people, you can't have resolutions with people and work through your business, no technology will be able to save you.
Very cool stuff. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Alan Lunder, founder of Black Diamond Boots, on being an international entrepreneur. Today we discussed international sales management. On the next episode of The Language of Business, we'll move to the operational section of the business plan, the logistical aspects of getting a new organization off the ground. I'm Greg Stoller, and thank you for watching The Language of Business.